Hello and welcome to episode 938 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada is Mr. Greg Seward.
Yellow.
How's it going there, sir?
Not bad. Just watching the Grey Cup.
Yeah? That's all you got?
That's all I got.
All you've got. All right, and then joining me from the great state of Washington, Mr. Phil Theobald.
Hello there.
Hi.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
I'm doing just fine.
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What's the sitch?
What do you mean?
What's going on?
What do you mean?
I mean, how's it going? What's going on? What brings you here today?
Some kind of podcast thing that we do.
Seems like a poor excuse.
Every week.
Okay.
Yeah, something.
Seems like a terrible way to spend your time.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess we could bring this up. So this week, I don't know if you heard the latest Game Mess Decides podcast.
I don't know what that is.
From friend of the show, Jeff Grubb, hosts several
Apparently
podcasts.
not that good of a friend to Greg.
On Giant Bomb, exactly. And they did a Mount Rushmore of video game box quotes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and thankfully I am not a part of the Mount Rushmore.
All that tells me is that they didn't do their research, but...
Well, it came up. The Bubsy 3D quote came up.
Yes.
As part of the discussion, and I want to just tack on here at the beginning, if people don't know what this is, so I can explain a little about what happened.
DJ's justifying his praise for Bubsy 3D now.
I praise for Bubsy 3D. So yes, back in the day, I worked at EGM right around the time Bubsy 3D came out, and I was just an associate editor or whatever, and had to write fact files, which are previews of various games. And one of those games was Bubsy 3D for the PlayStation 1. And I had to do 2 pages on... Oh, am I on the wrong mic?
I was going to wait for you to finish your story before I said anything.
Is it really that bad?
No, you know what? It's just that mic was too far away.
Yeah, how about now? Is that better?
A lot better.
A lot
There you
better?
go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'll get it even closer.
Get it right up
Put
in
your
there.
mouth right on it.
How's that?
Get it resting on your lips.
Does everybody like that?
Can you slow it down a little bit?
Microphones
Slow
aren't
it
really
down.
working unless that foam is tickling your tonsils.
Yikes. Okay, if that's better, that's good. So anyway,
way better.
had to write
Loosen the gag reflex.
Oh God.
I had to write 2 pages
2 pages.
on Bubsy 3D. And in EGM at that time, in 94, you couldn't be negative in a preview. Not allowed. Had to give the game the benefit of the doubt. Maybe even lay some faint praise upon
That was per
Upon it.
management.
per management. Yes.
It was per management and how close management was with the PR people
Yes.
at the time.
So I had to write a 2-page preview of Bubsy 3D, and I did so.
Yes.
And I tried my damnedest to not praise Bubsy 3D because I knew even at that time that this thing was a steaming pile.
Of what?
Yarn ball.
Bubsy.
It goes in the litter box. And so I wrote the preview, didn't think anything of it. Then a month goes by and the game comes out, and guess what? A quote from the preview that I written is on the very front of the box and riddled with ellipses as well. So They took some choice words out of there, and
you can tell when a quote is honest.
Yeah,
when it is comprised of
only single
words separated by ellipses.
Yeah. And so that was the story behind it. Luckily, it wasn't a bylined preview or anything. It didn't have my name on it. It just said EGM said this, which I'm happy about. But I do own a copy of Bubsy 3D now, just because of that box quote.
So
I need to frame it.
What was the actual quote? Do you remember?
It was from different parts of the preview. It wasn't even like one sentence.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is that we're talking about how, as per management, you were supposed to heap praise on games in previews. Yeah. But did you actually do that, or was it just cut up to make it seem like you did? Because honestly,
it was just cut up to make it seem like I did.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, I don't know that it was you heaping praise. Also, I will
stunning say, ... original ... Bubsy 3D climbs back to the top ... check it out.
Right.
Exclamation mark.
So but I will say that, what you guys were saying obviously sounds pretty shady about depending on the relationship that the publisher, whoever, had with the higher ups at Ziff Davis, or not Ziff Davis at the time.
Not even Ziff Davis. No.
But I mean,
and it was a preview, was not a review.
That was the idea. I'm actually a firm believer in that you should give preview games the benefit of the doubt. It's extremely unfair to pass judgment on something that's still in development. So,
I will agree
I would
to
much
that.
rather lean towards the positivity and the potential than say this is garbage.
I will agree with that to a point. Yeah. But then I also think it is the reviews editor's job to find out from the person who's writing the preview, or the preview editor's job. I'm sorry. Preview editor's job.
Did you have a preview editor?
That's a good question.
Because
I don't know. I don't think so.
When I joined EGM in 2000, you did not.
I don't think there was.
Probably not.
Yeah. But it should be their job to say, okay, this game is not good. We're not giving it 2 pages or whatever. But I think also management was in with the accolade.
Yeah, I guess that's true to a point.
Management.
I mean, you're also speaking as someone who, spent 3 or 4 years designing preview sections. You're kind of at some point you're at the point of no return, and the preview editor doesn't play every game that's being previewed.
That's true. That's true.
Again, you're basing it on potential and available assets and buzz, how much you think your readership's going to be interested. And hey, we love to laugh at Bubsy now, but you remember the first Bubsy was pretty well received. For some weird reason, Bubsy had this cachet. Yeah, it was.
Bubsy
had this cachet that I don't know if it was deserved, but it did exist. So it wasn't weird that you wanted to cover a new Bubsy game.
Kind of did exist, yeah. I guess. Yeah. So that was that, and then they also brought up the quote. This is not a box quote, but the PlayStation can produce mind-boggling effects, which is a memed image, a widely memed image that I also wrote around the same time.
Really, my bigger question is, why did you get to keep your job?
Oh, well, that's also true.
Accolades.
Here's
third
the thing.
Bubsy game puts the infamous Defender of Yarn into a new dimension with stunning results.
Is that what I said?
That is from the first paragraph of your preview.
Oh, well, stunning can also be bad. Let's not forget. The word stunning can also have a negative connotation.
Also keep in mind,
a lot of pull quotes were taken from previews, by the way.
Yeah, of course they were.
Yeah.
Because you had to put the ad together before the game came out.
Yeah.
Combining elements seen in both 2D and 3D play, Bubsy 3D climbs back to the top of the yarn ball. Gamers looking for 3D action should check it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's faint praise.
this is
right.
Here's the thing.
It's faint praise.
It's the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Bubsy
time
3D actually did look pretty good for a
We were all
3D
children.
game.
We were all children.
Writing,
we were mere babies.
Writing video game magazines the way we expected video game magazines to be written.
Yes.
I have, if you look at any of my stuff from this same
this
issue
era or this issue,
I mean,
you were working there too,
this
right?
issue.
Yeah.
It's going to be just as empty of praise or
whatever. How about that Iron Man Exo Manowar
my goodness.
review? Or
I believe
preview,
I wrote this 2-page Tobal #1 preview that I'm looking at.
Oh, there you go.
Which was a good game.
Yeah. That's
okay.
true.
Ooh, Dragonheart, Fire and Steel.
Oh, I wrote that one.
Was that a you?
That was me.
Yeah, this was back when
Dragonheart.
This was right when issue 88, by the way, of EGM is what I'm looking at. Which was like right after I started there. And right when you came back.
Yeah, I started again after you.
Yeah. But you and I, being the low-level scrubs, we got all the, here, write 2 pages on Bubsy, write a page on Dragonheart.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how. I think the only reason I got that Tobal preview was because nobody knew it was a good game.
Because it was anime.
Oh yeah, that's
probably
true. That's true. It was all anime looking.
It's an anime thing. So here, Phil.
Yeah, because that was a Akira Toriyama character designs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
that's right.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, and then the PlayStation can produce mind-boggling effects. That was from earlier.
Right.
So I guess I did leave EGM. Maybe I did get fired because of that. No, I didn't get fired. I left. But it was one of those situations where Ed had gone to Japan with a camcorder and recorded a bunch of stuff and said, here, kid, write 3 pages on everything that's in this presentation. It's like, I wasn't there. I don't know what I'm seeing. And I'm writing captions for this thing because a caption goes here under this screenshot.
Yeah.
Like that is how that happened.
And Ed certainly wasn't going to write anything about it.
No, he was not. Have the 17, 8-year-old, well, I guess I was 17 at the time.
Yeah.
I have the 17-year-old kid write the Tokyo Game Show stuff. Yeah. So that's how that happened. But I guess I was responsible for both of those things.
This is the issue that has the Street Fighter 3 reveal.
Oh,
the one where I had to take all those screenshots.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the pictures that we ran in the magazine are very clearly
from a video
captured off a VHS tape.
Yeah, I think I remember you having to do that.
Yeah, I spent literal hours scrubbing through a VHS tape frame by frame, capturing hundreds of pictures.
Yep.
And then Ed yelled at me afterwards. After spending hours doing it, I went and told him, "Hey, I finished grabbing all those screens." And for some reason, he was convinced that I didn't do it correctly, and he said, "Did you get all the characters?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I spent hours doing it." And I mentioned one of the characters. Oh gosh, who's the character who has a skateboard? There's a character with a skateboard.
I don't remember.
In Street Fighter 3.
I stopped paying attention to Street Fighter after 2.
Yeah,
me too.
There's
Super Turbo.
There's a kid who like leaps into the battle and he's like on a skateboard. And I mentioned that to Ed. I was like, "Oh
Picky.
yeah,
his name is Picky."
That's right, Picky. The is that Fighting Vipers?
I believe
Fighting Viper, yeah.
I believe the character you're looking for is Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk,
the one.
Right? Yes,
that's the one. Well, no, what it was
Dave
I
Merrick.
did. I meant because I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a bunch of pictures of Ken and Ryu and you know like the new character Alex and the kid on the skateboard." And as soon as I mentioned the kid on the skateboard, I'm assuming Ed made the Fighting Viper connection because he instantly flipped out.
Do you think?
What do you mean kid with a skateboard? What do you mean the kid with a skateboard? I was like, there's a character. He does a little skateboard trick in his pre-fight animation.
Phil, you were giving the benefit of the doubt that
Ed knew what Fighting Vipers was.
A character in Fighting Vipers
That's true.
Had a skateboard.
That's true.
I don't think
That's
so.
True. He wouldn't have known
I
that.
highly doubt it.
But yeah, he started instantly just like in his office, just screaming at me that I had wasted hours taking screenshots of a game that doesn't exist or was the wrong game.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're the one who handed me the tape,
bro.
You know?
I just
spent like 4 or 5 hours watching a bunch of Street Fighter 3 frame by frame. Trust me, it's Street Fighter 3. But he kept screaming at me. And then I took him over and showed him the screens.
Yeah.
And it was obviously Street Fighter 3. And then he just yelled at me to take some more screens.
Yeah. Phil, did he apologize to you for
you know what? He actually wrote me a really nice letter.
God.
He got me a nice card.
And a Starbucks gift card.
Yeah, he gave me sent me a Thanksgiving turkey for my family to enjoy. This is a little something extra for all that hard work.
Tiny Tim for some reason also.
Yeah.
That was a little weird.
I was out of line. I'm very sorry. You clearly knew what you were doing. No, of course not. When it was revealed that he was wrong and that I had indeed captured hundreds of screenshots of Street Fighter 3, he just became very flustered and yelled at me to get more.
Yeah. And then walked away.
And then stomped back to his office. He was a great boss.
Yeah. I always wonder what the deal was with him being such a bad boss. Is it because he was at the top of the staff that is comprised of nothing but children, and he used to actually work at a newspaper?
Yeah, because he had a newspaper background, yeah?
Yeah, he had a newspaper background and everything.
So he was used to working in a newsroom with adults, presumably.
Presumably, yeah.
And not a bunch of
children.
Like literal high school
children.
Students trying to publish a magazine. Centered around a medium that, as far as I could tell, he had no actual interest in
anymore. If he ever did.
I was going to say anymore. Ed was like a high score holding gamer.
At one point,
he has a very deep gaming history.
But I never saw him touch a controller.
Me neither.
Sure, but I think what CJ said, anymore would be the qualifier there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
well, anyway,
it was interesting stuff. But the point is, you don't like Bubsy 3D.
I don't like Bubsy 3D. And what I thought about this was karmic retribution for something that happened at CES this particular year. I was not working at EGM at the time, I think. Or wait, was I? No.
I don't know.
I was going to come back in the fall and went to CES. It was still CES at that time, I think. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And went to the Accolade booth and stepped up to the Bubsy 3D. And I was like, what the bleep is this bleep? And then an Accolade person was right behind me and introduced themselves. And I was like, oh, sorry.
I'm Charles Bubsy, creator of Bubsy the Bobcat.
So I think it was karma giving a little retribution on the fact that I had called it effing
What's your name, kid? We're going to put your name on the cover.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that.
Oh my goodness.
Literal children. I was like 19.
Oh yeah.
Or 18 or
absolutely,
19
yes.
at this time. Yeah. But anyway. So everything is apparently an Xbox. Have you seen the new Microsoft ad campaign?
Oh, I
Where they
did.
go, this is an Xbox, this is an Xbox,
Yeah.
etc. They call everything an Xbox. And I mean, of course, it's true. You can play Xbox games on a lot of platforms now. And I'm actually kind of surprised that there isn't one showing a PlayStation 5 with also this
They
is an
might
Xbox.
get in a little bit of not trouble,
I
but
guess
there'd probably be a lot of heartache involved there.
They probably can't do that, right? And I guess you can't do Game Pass on PlayStation 5, but you can't play Microsoft first-party games on a PS5. Yeah, but anyway, so this is kind of like the distillation of what they've been doing for the past, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
In saying that it's a sort of platform, it's hardware agnostic, right? And that you can play Xbox games pretty much anywhere. And
Xbox isn't a place, it's a people.
It's a vibe, very clearly. It's it's an Xbox thing. And you can play it on TVs and Android devices and streaming devices. You can play it on the Steam Deck, all kinds of different ways to play. So yeah, this is just sort of distilling that down to a very simple message. And I guess some people on the internet got upset about it. Imagine that.
That's weird.
Like I love to. I don't know if I'd love to know why.
I mean, there are some Xbox fanboys that want them to go back to focusing on hardware.
Well, pick a different manufacturer to sell your soul to. This is something Microsoft decided to do. Like,
well, and as if they'd be doing any better if they had just stuck with the hardware approach anyway, right? Like, do we really think they'd be in a better position at this point? I don't know that they would be. I'm going to go ahead and say they wouldn't be. So, yeah, it makes sense to me, and good for Microsoft, I guess. And it looks like Phil Spencer had done a bunch of interviews with some outlets now that this marketing campaign has started, and commented in an interview with Bloomberg that Microsoft is or could create its own Steam Deck style Xbox handheld.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
There are expectations that they'll do something in that area. And then said that a device like that is a few years out. So, yeah, handheld Xbox coming in 2028, apparently. No,
cool.
Who knows? But I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense for platforms, ecosystems now to be, especially one like Microsoft's, where it's already in the cloud.
Well, PlayStation was the ecosystem.
That's also true. Eco was on PlayStation. Yes.
You got it.
I got there.
You got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Genesis was the ecosystem.
And the Switch is the Echoes of Wisdom system.
Yes, it is. Yeah. See, you get it.
I understand.
You understand how this works.
I understand where you're going.
Yep.
Yeah. One last thing here to talk about in news is that November's PlayStation Plus game catalog has been revealed, and as I think we were talking about last week, maybe GTA 5 is returning to the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium game catalog. So
was it on there before?
I could. It was on there before. I think it went away and came. Now it's coming back.
Oh, okay.
So, if we want, we could do a game club on GTA.
I would love to, 5. But I don't trust all of us to play the game.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes. Yes. All right. Well.
Yeah.
That is, it seems like it's been a slow 2 weeks for video game news. I just got to say, it's not really that much
to the end of the year
happening. I guess everybody's saving their stuff for Game Awards, right?
Who wants to rock the boat this close to Black Friday?
Well, I guess there's one more thing to talk about regarding the Game Awards is that they announced that DLC and updates are now eligible for all categories in the Game Awards.
It's been such a slow year that they need to include DLC so they have something to talk about.
Well, this, of course, would make Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree eligible for Game of the Year.
Yeah, there it is.
They've made an official announcement that whatever Jeff Keighley wants to win is eligible for Game of the Year.
And how could it not, right? Like, well, I don't know. It might not, but there have been some good games this year. But yeah, all categories. So yeah. Interesting. I guess we'll find out the nominations. The nominees are going to be announced tomorrow as we record this. So they kind of set it up as a preamble to that, a pre-announcement that, hey, it's going to include some DLC.
Cool.
In that mix.
So
cool. Be right back.
Elden Ring is going to win.
Elden Ring is the entire reason that's there, right?
It's going to be Game of the Year. So,
well, I'm not sure. I'm not positive on that.
I mean, that's the
whole reason
they made it eligible, because they want that to be Game of the Year.
Well, what about Astrobot? Come on, Astrobot.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we can dive right into what you've been playing.
Oh.
And Phil?
Yes?
We're going to start with you because Greg's not here right now, so we have to start.
Well, I'm just going to talk about Tetris Forever. Okay. Because I know that's what Greg's playing, and Greg's gone right now, so it'll be really amusing when he just starts repeating everything I say once he gets back.
No, we should probably talk about something else.
Or I just talk about Tetris now, and then when we get to Greg and he's like, "Oh, I've been playing Tetris," and we'll just say, "Yeah, we already talked about that." Maybe you shouldn't have left.
Why would we do that? Though?
Maybe you shouldn't have walked away from the show right in the middle of us recording.
You shouldn't have.
Yeah. What have I been playing? I'll skip the Tetris talk for now. I'm going to throw this out there. The final talking about A, Astrobot, and B, downloadable DLC content.
Yeah.
The final speed run level in Astrobot came out this past week.
The final one.
The final, because there was 5, I want to say.
Okay.
They've been releasing one every week. And the final one just came out. And I have been keeping up on them. Just, as I had mentioned a few weeks ago, doing the bare minimum in order to unlock the new little Astrobot characters.
Yeah.
PlayStation homage characters, which, I'm going to be honest, most of them, I'd rescue them, and I'm just like, I have no idea who this is. I have no idea who this is.
Because they're newer. Are they newer characters?
Yeah, I mean, it's all like, I think there were a couple like Helldiver characters.
Yeah.
I think one of them was like from Destiny.
Okay.
Kate. Oh gosh, what was that?
6 or Kate? What? No, not that. Cade 6. There we go. I got it. What it eventually. I think that's Nathan Fillion's character.
In what?
What are we talking about?
Destiny.
In Destiny? Oh, okay.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. What was it? Heavenly Sword? That was a game, right?
Heavenly Sword is a game.
It was a PS3?
Yeah, Ninja Theory.
Okay, yeah, I think there was the gal from Heavenly Sword.
Okay.
Right? Red hair? Am I remembering?
Red hair. Yep.
Yeah, I don't.
That's the one.
I never played Heavenly Sword.
Me neither.
But there was a lot of characters where I was just like, I don't know who that is, and I'd have to look. I looked it up later, and I was just like, I've never played these games. But point is, I got all the little Astrobot characters.
Now your 100% completion stands.
I'm back to having all the trophies and all that stuff. So
nice.
Bully for me. So there's that. I have started playing Ease 10 Nordics, more, kind of gung-ho into it. I'm enjoying it. I'm a few hours into it at this point, still just kind of like starting off. But I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I will say, CJ,
Yeah.
relatively early on in the game, you get a boat.
Oh,
You meet up with a pirate princess.
Well, there's too many other games I'm playing, so I don't think
you become friends with a pirate princess, and you get a boat, and you're doing ship-to-ship battles.
Sounds good.
As
Interested?
The high seas.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Okay.
This could be that crossover you needed to get into the
one
series.
Mm-hmm.
Unlikely.
Probably. But
unlikely.
But I am enjoying Ease 10 Nordics.
Cool.
However, I have set it aside briefly because now I have started to play. And the only reason I set this aside because this next game, of which I am about to speak, is supposedly relatively short, clocking in at like 8 to 10 hours. So I figured maybe I could play through this.
Okay.
Before moving back over into East. And that is the new Lego game. You may have seen this. You may have
heard about it.
This.
Yeah.
Lego Horizon Adventures.
Yes.
The Sony PlayStation franchise Horizon is now branching out to multiple systems in Lego form. However, I did get the PS5 version because I wanted to play.
Gotta get that sweet 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because boy, oh boy, it looks great.
Yeah.
It's a pretty game. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm enjoying it.
That's
what would
all right.
Semrad make you write about it?
Oh, he just yelled at me because he thought I was playing Lego Batman. I mentioned I was enjoying the new Lego game, and
he
remembered hearing about Lego Batman once. Yeah. And he got very, very cross with me.
It's like, no, it's Castlevania 5.
Actually, it's funny, Greg, you mentioned Fighting Vipers. Wasn't that? Oh, no, it was Fighters Megamix, right?
Fighters Megamix was the one
that he wanted to refer to as Virtua Fighter 3 on the cover.
Yeah.
3 or 4? Was it
5? I can't remember which one.
Probably be 3 because 3 hadn't come out on a console at that point.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know if 3 existed at that point. Yeah, it must have because I'm pretty sure Fighters Megamix used some gameplay.
The arcade version of 3 existed because that was the first thing that I wrote about when I got hired at EGM was the arcade version of VF3.
Right. Okay.
And had you played the arcade version of VF3, Phil?
No, of course not.
You were writing about it.
I wrote about a lot of games I never played.
He handed me a copy. It was my first day there. Getting sidetracked again with old EGM stories. It was my first day at the office.
Our listeners hate old EGM stories.
That is true.
They do.
I mean, boy, oh boy, that EGM Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Record breaking.
Crazy, huh?
My goodness.
Yeah.
It was my first day at the office. I did not have a computer. I did not have a desk. I was handed a yellow legal pad and a pen.
Yep.
Upon which I would write my first article. And Ed handed me a copy of Famitsu with some Post-it notes in it. Because
you totally understood Japanese.
Well, I mean, he knew I couldn't read Japanese.
Yeah.
But and I was not intended to get any information from it. It was just
right.
Here are the pictures of VF3 that we're going to scan out of this Japanese magazine and run in our magazine.
Yeah.
And now you write 2 pages to go along with those screenshots. And And I asked him, admittedly somewhat naively, is there a VF arcade machine somewhere here, like on, like a test market or something that I can go play? And he scoffed and said, no, just write something based on the screenshots.
Yeah.
So I wrote a terrible article. I wrote a terrible preview.
Yeah.
About,
but back then, who was looking at the words?
That is true. But yeah,
other
later
than marketing
when
people at Accolade,
we had our first preview for Fighters Mega Mix, Ed wanted to refer to it as either VF3 or VF4 on the magazine cover, because, as he explained, nobody knows what Fighters Mega Mix is.
And he wasn't wrong.
Well, not wrong, but
who would
that's
know
also
what Fighters Mega Mix is?
Not the name of the game.
The title. That's not how that works.
It's even the title's even in English.
Yeah, you can't just change a game's title to make it something that people.
Maybe you can't.
That's true. Not with my attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to work smarter, not harder.
That is, admittedly. So I'm playing this Lego Horizon game.
Oh yes, back to Lego Horizon.
Playing Lego Horizon,
That's what we were talking about.
which is it's a cute game. It is obviously a silly sort of retelling, reinterpretation of I believe the first Horizon game.
Yeah,
because it's all about like Aloy kind of learning where she came from and all that stuff. And it's a little weird because it's the Lego games have traditionally like the main Lego games, the Star Wars, the DC and Marvel stuff have always been made by Traveler's Tales. And this one is not made by Traveler's Tales.
Really?
Oh, huh. It is.
I didn't
not.
know that.
It is not. It is
because it's a Lego game.
Yeah.
It was by Guerrilla Games.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the Horizon developers made Lego Horizon Adventures.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yes.
So, but it plays like a Lego game?
Not really, and that's what's thrown me off a little bit.
Really? Huh.
Is because it. I mean, it has that kind of the viewpoint looks like a Lego game kind of, and and it's
sure,
and it's but it doesn't play like a Lego game in the sense that like you're not destroying every bit
little
of the
thing.
environment to collect little studs to unlock characters and things like that.
Okay.
Instead of playing like a Lego game, quote unquote, it plays more like a sort of simplistic action, almost dungeon crawlery kind of game with a Lego shell over it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Huh.
It plays more like a traditional kind of action game that's kind of, geared a little more towards kids. Because it's, it's
interesting.
It's not super difficult. There aren't really like a lot of, puzzles or anything, at least not that I have encountered yet.
Okay.
It's pretty much just kind of you're exploring an area, running off the main trail to get little treasure chests with items or gold in it, and then just fighting a bunch of cultists and robot dinosaurs.
Okay.
But it looks great. It looks super. It's the environments are all made out of Lego and everything, so it looks super pretty. The animation is great because it's animated in sort of a low frame rate kind of way to make it look
like the Lego movies.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it has very much a kind of stop motion vibe to the animations. So, looks terrific.
Cool.
It's fully voiced with the same voice cast as the Horizon
Cool.
games.
This
And
actually makes me more interested in it because not that I don't like the sort of traditional Traveler's Tales Lego games. They're great.
Right.
But it's also, I'm clearly fatigued by them because I don't even pay attention to the releases anymore.
Right.
You know, it's like if I happen to want to play one of those games, I can pick from a dozen games that have come out that I haven't played yet. And I know they'll all be the same. Yeah. So this is actually really fascinating that it's not just a Traveler's Tales Lego game.
Yeah. And it's like, but, kind of the trade-off is, the Traveler's Tale stuff, there is kind of the puzzle mechanic where you have all these different kind of character classes that have different skills, and you got to swap between those to solve puzzles and stuff. This doesn't
have that.
There's a couple different characters you can unlock. And they have like different weapons. Like Aloy has her bow and arrow. I don't know any of the other characters. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of for me too, is like the downside to all this is it's a series I have zero connection with.
Affinity for.
Which is why it's such a weird release because I guess the Horizon games are, I think they're well liked. Yeah. Question mark. Yes, I guess they are right.
Popular amongst the three of us, but
I've tried to play both of them and kind of bounced off of them after like half a dozen hours each.
I didn't even get that far in either of them.
And
I'm the same way with that.
They seem like games I would really dig. Like I love the aesthetic. I love the look of the world. I love giant robot dinosaurs are super great, but they just never clicked with me.
It's because they don't transform. That's the problem.
That is the problem. But like, so one of the guys has like a big spear that he can throw and stuff like that. So, and so there's only a handful of characters that you can unlock. There's different skins you can unlock for them, which is kind of cute. So you can have Aloy like dressed up like a hot dog or looking like a punk with a mohawk or something like that. So you can do kind of silly stuff like that, but you don't have the wide variety of kind of character classes that you see in the Traveler's Tale stuff.
Okay.
But again, that may be appealing if you want that, something a little more simple.
Sure.
Pick up and play. And like I said, it's apparently like an 8-10 hour game, which is just nice.
That's interesting. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. They have kind of a big kind of customizing thing is as you progress through the game, you build out your village. You're rescuing people to populate your village again, and then you're constructing buildings that give you options to like, oh, you built the house where you can go and change costumes. Oh, you built the house where you can go and buy upgrades for your characters, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, it's cute. I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I do appreciate that it's kind of a shorter game. I don't know if this would survive being like a 30-hour game, but a 10-hour game, this seems like it's going to be fun. It's definitely cute and funny. Like the script is funny. The voice actors are all clearly having a lot of fun.
I wonder if, do you know who wrote the script? Like, did they say if they use some of the same writers that they use for the Lego games? Because,
I don't know.
Because I mean, those games are usually pretty legitimately funny too. So
yeah,
I wonder if
I don't know who
lean on that at least, but
wrote the script. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same people who wrote the Horizons games, just kind of like doing a parody of their own work.
Sure.
Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I said, certainly the voice actors are all the same cast, just being more playful and jokey with it and stuff like that. So
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's,
cool.
It's a fun little game.
Nice.
But the other game that I have been playing a bit, and I saved this, Greg. I was going to talk about this first, but you had left us. is of course the latest entry in Digital Eclipse's Gold Master Series.
Yep, that's the one.
Gold Master Series, Tetris Forever. The Tale of Tetris, which
yeah,
I started going through the timeline. I've only gone through, like, I did the first timeline, and I'm probably about halfway through the second timeline at this point. I don't know how far you got.
I have finished the third chapter, so I have two chapters to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a bit ahead of me story wise.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, Digital Eclipse's work with this series has been pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm loving the interviews. Where I'm at in the second chapter is they're talking to Hank Rogers a lot. And I actually just finished the bit where he's talks about meeting up with Yamauchi at Nintendo
to play Go,
and convincing him to let him do the Go game for Famicom.
Yeah,
which of course you can then play. Which
That's
is
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't understand the rules of Go.
Me neither.
No, me neither.
It's not like Othello, apparently.
Apparently not.
No.
Is Othello a derivative of Go?
Kind of.
Maybe.
I'm curious if it really is. I mean, I'm not saying, let's guess.
I have no idea.
Is it? Is that where
I have no idea. Honestly, I genuinely know nothing about Go's gameplay. I'm going to have to read some sort of well, I'm pretty sure they have a how to play in the game in like one of the menus. I will have to look at. But it's pretty cool. What are your thoughts on it, Greg?
So I think that Tetris Forever is a really interesting next project because Atari 50 was fantastic.
Yep.
They clearly had, even before they were bought by Atari, they clearly had done a ton of research, done a ton of interviews. And Karateka, I thought, was fascinating because it took a game that I really wasn't super interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And it really focused on that, which in hindsight, I remember thinking, well, why didn't they just do Prince of Persia? But it was far more interesting, I think, to see Karateka and how that brought Jordan Mechner into games and sort of set his style and the things that he learned. And they had a lot of great information from him based on all his writings and everything that he kept, all these bits and pieces in the development. So I thought Tetris Forever being the next game was kind of it was going to be a bit of a mountain to climb because and maybe I'm only speaking from being middle-aged person who's been playing games since the late 70s, but the Tetris story is pretty well known,
right?
And it's been covered really well in books. I mean, one of the very first gaming history books that I think a lot of people read was Game Over by David Sheff, and there's a whole section in there about Tetris and this story, and sort of those details have been well known and well documented for 30 years now. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, what are they going to do to make this more interesting? And I have to say that I think in Hank Rogers, they've come across a gold mine because clearly Hank either recorded everything he did himself, or he had someone there recording with him. And there's whole sections in this documentary. And Phil, you're going to get to this in the third chapter. I mean, he was using a camcorder during almost his entire time in Russia.
Oh, wow.
On that trip. I mean, he didn't have the camera in the room, obviously, when the details were being hammered out, but walking around Moscow and going to the Go Club, which is what he tried to do to figure out where Elorg was. Because when he went to Russia, he did not have any idea where the people were that he even wanted to talk to. He didn't have an appointment. And, in his hotel, there's a footage from the hotel he stayed in, and there's footage of him and Alexei hanging out afterwards. Like, it's all there, and they're just running home videos for
wow.
a lot of that chapter, and it's so fascinating. And it's like, okay, that's what they've brought to this story.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, it's been covered so many times, been covered really well in video too. Norm, the Gaming Historian channel, his Tetris video is fantastic. But he didn't have access to this stuff. So, and he didn't do any new interviews. And the other thing that this really has going for it is that, I mean, they've interviewed a lot of people, but they've clearly spent a lot of time with Alexei Pezhetnov and with Hank Rogers. And it's fascinating to hear them sort of share the little details, like Hank really going through sort of how they drew up the contract because they were under such time constraints, in him, directing his lawyer to make sure that they, he's like, we're not negotiating here. This needs to be a one and done. So this is how it needs to be written, and that sort of thing. Like, it's those little details and those little memories that are really making this much more interesting to watch and to read than it has been previously. And that's speaking as someone who, I read tons of gaming history books, and I've read this story so many times, and I've watched this story so many times up to this point, and it's still interesting because of that. And I will say, from a production standpoint, I was having this conversation with Corey Carlson over at My Life in Gaming, because he's a videographer and a video editor, I think, as well, professionally. And I went to school for video editing and for electronic news gathering. That was what I was hoping to be at one point, was a reporter, or at least a camera operator on news programs. And I've always said, and I've always noticed that since the pandemic, if you watch news, especially local news, they don't send out camera crews anymore for interviews. Everything's done over Zoom or Google Meets or whatever. So it's all done with a webcam facing somebody sitting in their home. And you even see this on like professional sports broadcasts as well, like Sports Center and stuff. Like, a lot of the pundits will be sitting in their home offices. Now, they've clearly spent some money to get them good equipment, good lighting, and their backgrounds. But you also we've gotten so used to these really grainy, cheap webcam, poorly lit video interviews, especially in sort of our news broadcasts. And I have to say, with Atari 50 in particular, that was a big problem. I understand why it was a big problem, because I think a fair amount of those interviews were probably done during sort of that pandemic era. And also, I don't think they had a whole ton of money to be flying around and doing all these interviews in person. But I mean, thinking back to even the First Console War chapter that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and there's just some terrible blue screen stuff in there. Like, it's bad. It's really bad, because they're clearly not well lit, and they're clearly not using great equipment. And again, I understand it. But with Tetris Forever, that's the other really big impact it's making on me is, and I guess it's Area 5 that did the video production. Boy, they spent the money, and they hired professionals, and like the footage, 99% of the interview footage is so beautifully framed and so well shot and so well lit, and the audio is perfect. And it's like, and when people, I was asking around, and because I'm sure this was announced, but I didn't know it, that finding out that Area 5 was the production company that did this, which of course they grew out of oneup.com. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. This looks like their work. It's really fantastic. They've done such a great job. So it's like, for me, this latest episode is definitely the next evolution of this whole concept. They've clearly got a little bit of money now. They've got an idea of what they should be doing different and better. And again, I don't know who the producer was. I think it's Chris Kohler who's at the helm of this thing. Clearly somebody who knows what they're doing, and clearly a group of people who know what they're doing and know that this is a very well-tread story in sort of video game history, and still making it interesting. So,
yeah.
Now, I will say, on the negative side of things, so far I've played very few rounds of Tetris in this documentary, which is a
Sure.
big change from Atari 50.
Yeah.
And kind of a disappointing change, because the Tetris that I've played so far is a remake, I guess, of the very original game. Very cool. Played the first DOS version. Very cool. Yeah. Then I'm hearing how important the Tengen and Sega arcade games are. They're not in there.
This is kind of what we were talking about when this was first announced.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's a problem. It really is. So the chapter you're about to go into, which chronicles,
you know what, real quick,
what?
This is one of the things that really stood out to me on the chapter that I am currently in. Is it starts off talking about it's Hank Rogers talking about when he first went to Japan, and there is a whole lot of talk about him creating this
Black Onyx.
Black Onyx, this incredibly influential, best-selling,
apparently introduced RPGs to Japanese video gaming culture.
Exactly. Yes. And there's so much talk about how important this game is, and so much talk about the work that he did to do this, and how it was like the first game that Bulletproof Software published and put him on the map, basically. And it ain't there.
Right. And so, I mean, we do have the version of Go that Bulletproof Software did on the Famicom. Great.
Which is great.
We have the Famicom version of Tetris, which is not a great version of Tetris, but still, it's there, and that's great. And actually really interesting information on the fact that, and I had no idea about this as someone who's read this story so many times, about how Hank Rogers is the one that pretty much introduced points given for line clears in Tetris, and the actual Tetris, clearing 4 lines at once. That's a Hank Rogers creation.
Wow.
The original versions of Tetris were all scored based on how fast you drop the pieces and nothing else. So again, very cool information. But so they really went out of their way to point out the importance of like the Tengen version of Tetris in arcades and the Sega version of Tetris in arcades in Japan, and how Tetris was really introduced to Japan. Neither of those games are on here. Then the chapter that you're about to go into, which is all about the story, the main story, where it's like, Atari didn't really have the rights, even though they thought they did, because Robert Stein, wasn't super clear on things. And so let's go to Moscow and let's get the handheld rights and blah, 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 blah. And I will say they had Gilman Louie on there from, what's his company's name? Spectrum Holobyte.
Yeah.
And he defends Robert Stein and saying that he doesn't think that Stein was ever trying to do anything shifty. It's just that he wasn't a contract guy. He was an agent, and he thought he had the rights he sold. But anyway, we're talking about the importance of Tengen Tetris on the NES, not in the game. We're talking about how Tetris was so important for the Game Boy. The Game Boy made Tetris, and Tetris made the Game Boy, not in the game. Talking about the Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive. I know why, but I'm just saying the Sega Mega Drive version that was never technically released because of all this, not in the game. In that chapter, and then we're talking about Blockout and how much Alexei hated Blockout, and he hated Faces, Tris 3. Neither of those are in the game. Talking about Weltris, which was his version of 3D Tetris, which they go into a fairly lengthy amount, not in the game. And then, that whole chapter, I played Hatris. I played 3 versions of Hatris. I played the Famicom version, I played the Game Boy version, and I played the NES version, which was slightly different than the Famicom version. And I get why none of this is there. I get it.
Right.
But it is definitely...
It doesn't make it less disappointing.
The experience. It hurts the experience because it turns that chapter into, the videos are fantastic. The interviews are great. The footage that Rogers was recording during the time really takes you there. And that's amazing. But in between, you're literally getting scans of ads and little blurbs of what are basically an essay as you're going through this. And it's a lengthy chapter. But if there were other games I played during that chapter, I don't remember what they were, but they weren't Tetris.
Yeah.
So it's just like, man, like this is, and it's too bad because with how great the documentary side of it has been so far, it's such a glaring omission that all these versions of Tetris aren't there. And it's a real shame.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's me saying you should still buy this and watch this, because as a documentary, so far it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But if you're, you know, when you've experienced something like Karateka or Atari 50, boy, the volume of games is just, it's so noticeable how few of the games they're talking about are actually in this documentary.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say about that.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. What else you got, Phil?
Oh, that's it.
That's all?
That's what I've been playing.
Well,
it's also what Greg's been playing, unless there's something else he didn't put down on the.
That's it.
I do have one other thing to talk about, but I'll wait till it's my turn.
Okay. Yeah, I've been playing some stuff too. I've been playing more Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Hey, look at that!
Hard to beat that game.
Well, yeah, I'm still playing through the ice area. I finally now am to the puzzles where you have to activate the hot and the cold stuff.
Oh,
and yeah, doing all that. So it's still fun. It's still fun.
A good game. I enjoyed it.
It's a good video game. I do often feel like I'm breaking it because I'm using pretty much one echo to defeat any enemies. It's the big old I don't even remember what enemy it is, but he's got a shield and a sword. And is able to like block and then kill most other threats on the screen, even flying enemies. So just drop him down and run away. But yeah, still enjoying it. I still need to play more of it. But a little game called Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D came out this week, and I felt compelled.
Yeah, I want to play that.
And play it. And man, it's beautiful. I'm playing it on the Steam Deck OLED. And it's a beautiful, beautiful video game. Yeah. I thought about, so I didn't want to buy it on the Switch because I wasn't sure if there were going to be any performance issues there. And then I thought, well, it's kind of too small of a game to buy on PS5. It's not like a graphical powerhouse or anything. So I'll buy it on Steam and play it on the Steam Deck. So that's what I've been doing. And so far it's really good and really beautiful as well. And there's some voice acting in there. It does that Dragon Quest-y thing where it asks you a bunch of questions like...
Oh, yeah, this one creates your avatar based on questions at the beginning of the game, doesn't it?
I think it does.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, or there are combat encounters or something to that effect that are impacted by it. So, of course, it asks you the questions, and then it asks you your name. Of course, I just put in Chris, and then it asked me my real name. What's your real name? And I put in Chris.
It's Erdrick.
I'm not lying to you, video game.
What's your social security number?
I had to accept the privacy policy from
welcome to the blockchain.
Oh, Lord.
What was your first pet's name?
Mom's maiden name.
It's just yes and no questions. It's not anything else like that. But yeah, having a really good time with it. And it's Dragon Quest. The turn-based battles are
good. Right.
You can change the speed of the battles, which is nice. I have it on very fast.
No.
Now. And yeah, then of course it has some quality of life stuff. You can bring up maps for basically everything, and you can turn on or toggle off the little pointer to tell you like where you're supposed to go next, which is kind of nice too. And yeah, it does autosave. So you don't have to, I guess, go to a church and do the whole thing, because that's the whole Dragon Quest save system. You go to the church, speak to the priest, or sometimes there are priests or nuns around that you can talk with.
That's one of the best sort of quality of life updates for any of those old RPGs, because how many of us, if we were playing those back in the day, it's like, well, I can't just go save if I'm in the middle of a dungeon that's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, apparently it does autosave.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But they still encourage you to save often, which I'm fine with. And then you can run. I don't know if you could run in the original version, but you can hold down a button to move faster and things. So yeah, it's all good. It has that sort of, I think this is a quality of life thing that I believe the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters had this too, where you can, or at least some RPGs I played recently had it, where you can heal. Maybe it was Dragon Quest XI S that I'm talking about. You can heal, or there's another option to heal yourself, but don't like waste a bunch of health items. Like do it in the most economical fashion possible, so that if you're like really low on items, it'll do it a different way.
I think that's the Pixel remasters, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice. And it has voice acting, which is a little weird. Because it's not like the characters are all, pixels, and they're not really, there's no like lip flaps or anything that are being matched, but it's a little strange, but it's good overall. And of course it's got beautiful music. Beautiful orchestrated tunes, which is absolutely awesome. And man, the graphics are just so good. The HD 2D treatment that this has gotten, I think, is even better than, Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy. Like, it just is visually stunning. And the Akira Toriyama art is there, and it's just very bright and nicely saturated, and it just looks beautiful. Just beautiful, especially on an OLED screen. So, very pleased with it. Yeah, and I'll continue playing it. I'll probably try to finish Zelda before really trying to dig into Dragon Quest, but glad that I purchased it.
Yeah, it's on my short list for sure.
Yeah. And that is what I've been playing. So, Greg, you haven't been playing anything else?
Well, I've been playing one more thing, and I want to use this as a reminder to people too. So I was playing Gran Turismo 7 this week because we still have the Player One Podcast League. Then I ended up winning this past week, so I was pretty happy with that. But I do want to call out that in a little less than 4 weeks, I am planning on running an Extra Life event on Gran Turismo 7, just calling it the Extra Life Grand Prix. On December 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern, hoping that we can get at least 15 drivers together, if not more. We're going to run a couple of qualifying races at Tsukuba Circuit in GT7. And then once all that is done, we're going to do a 1-hour race at Interlagos with tire wear on and fuel consumption on. And we're all doing all of it to raise money for Extra Life. So 2 things. If you would like to participate, obviously you need a copy of Gran Turismo 7 and a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5. And you can go to my Extra Life page, which you can just go to extra-life.org and just look for my name. CJ will probably put the link in the show notes as well. Make a $40 donation and say you want to enter, and that will get you in for December 14th. And if you're not going to participate, please consider coming to my channel that day, Twitch TV/Seward, where we'll be broadcasting the race, and make a donation, because while I did not do game day this year, we have still raised a little over $1,600 for Extra Life, and I would love to get that to a nice round 2,000 at the very least. So
cool.
Please, and it'll be a lot of fun. On top of that, it's a lot of fun. A lot of the Player One podcast drivers are going to be partaking. It's a great group. There's a reason why we've continued to race with each other for 4 or 5 years now. It's just a lot of fun. So, hey, if you have the game, come hang out, come play, come chat. It's going to be great.
Good deal. And I guess that means it's time for tweets.
Tweet.
All right, let's do this.
Probably Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's
It's
do
the second
this
verse.
one. Well, it's from everything, really. Let's do this one from hacker alias Grim Grinning Guy, who says, just want to say thanks to Greg for hyping up the Alan Wake Night Springs DLC. Just played all 3 back to back, and they were awesome. I want a full game where you play as Tim Breaker, the cop.
Yeah, that third episode. I mean, all 3 episodes were really good, but that third episode was sort of on another level.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
good. I'm glad you played it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That's another game that could get Game of the Year because Alan Wake DLC came out in 2024. And Jeff Keighley loves Remedy. So
yeah, love Sam Lake.
I mean, who doesn't love Sam Lake?
Right?
Really?
I'll tell you what, it's in the running for my Game of the Year. So
yeah,
there you go. And I haven't played,
and it
more
didn't even come out this year. It came out in 2023.
The DLC came out this year.
Well, yeah.
Oh, is DLC eligible for our Game of the Year as well?
Absolutely, it is. It's going to have to be because I really don't know if I can put a top 5 together without it. So
now that Jeff Keighley did it,
Jeff Keighley's doing it. I think we can do it. Yeah.
Didn't we talk about doing this last year? Or no, we talked about games that were not from 2023 being eligible. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Alan Wake 2. Awesome. All right, let's do this one from hacker alias Balls Inferno. Who says favorite map system? The Silent Hill series has a pretty perfect map system going on. What's your favorite map system?
What did you just say? Graph paper.
Graph paper.
Graph paper.
I have to say, I thought about this, and honestly, I always come back to the Castlevania games.
Yeah,
I just love, and I mean the Metroid games as well. When they started doing maps, I just loved those. There's something about those where it's always made it kind of easy to pick a spot to go check and see if there's a secret room, and there's a bit of I don't know, just a feeling of accomplishment when you see all the areas filled out in bright blue and stuff like that. There's something I love about it.
I really like the maps in, oh gosh, I want to say like Guacamelee uses them, and maybe like the SteamWorld Dig games where it's kind of like the fog of war on the map where as you move through the map, it just starts to slowly reveal itself, and it kind of encourages you to like run and get to like every single little corner of the map just to open it up so you can see the whole thing on the actual map screen.
Yep.
That kind of map is always very satisfying to me.
Yeah, I also like that. I think I'm in agreement with you two, except I would hope that what Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown brought to that, where being able to like take a screenshot or make a notation. On the map. Yeah. I thought that was
a nice touch.
Yeah, such a cool advancement of that system that I hope, even though Ubisoft has disbanded that team, but that sort of
I forgot about that because I didn't play very much of that game, but that was a really nice touch.
That quality of life feature sort of persists beyond just the Lost Crown. I thought that was very, very cool.
Yeah.
I also am a fan of the Fog of War handling of the SteamWorld maps.
Yeah.
Always awesome. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's do this one from hacker alias Ice Capzone, who says, what are some of your favorite relaxing, cozy, or chill games? Yeah.
I can put on Guitar Man. I play that anytime.
Yeah.
Especially that one stage.
Yeah. The little acoustic.
Yeah.
The acoustic
love
set.
Song
stage. The legendary theme.
Legendary
theme.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Well, CJ, you're a big fan of what has kind of come to be known as the cozy game.
Am I though? What do you mean?
You seem to play a lot of them.
I do. Yeah.
I mean,
play
I
a
kind of
bunch of
assumed
them.
you were into them since you play so darn many of them.
Yeah, I am. I
Yeah.
am. I'm blanking on specific titles as we're talking.
I mean, I like if I want to relax, I'll pop in a Picross game.
Yeah.
Solve a few
Yes.
cross puzzles.
Also a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tetris.
Oh,
Yeah.
And as weird as that sounds, I mean, because it does get not relaxing after a while, but
right.
it's just kind of comforting to sit and play it.
Well, with Tetris Effect,
yes,
you have the mode where you can just kind of do the chill out kind of mode, right? What's that mode called, CJ?
Come on, CJ.
the what? What mode?
Isn't there a
It's an
mode
effect
in
mode.
Tetris Effect where it's just kind of like you're just kind of vibing with the game?
Well, there's
no
effect
like real
modes.
game over.
Yeah, the effect modes have that, and
There
you
you
can
go.
choose what skin you like to play, what sort of mode you want to play.
I'm
There's
sorry,
also
Tetris Effect Connected.
Connected. There you go. Yeah, there's a relax mode inside the effect modes, I believe.
Yeah, that is the mode
Yeah.
to which I was referring.
Or once you finish the main journey mode, you can put it on theater mode, and you don't even have to play. You can just kind of enjoy the backgrounds,
Oh, okay.
enjoy the environments, which is very fun to do in VR on the Quest
Yeah.
or PSVR 2. Yeah.
I think we answered.
I think my favorite, most recent cozy game would be Chicory, maybe.
Okay.
That was a good one. That's a really good one. If you've not played it, I think it's on
I've
Oh,
been meaning to
subscription.
play that.
subscription services. But yeah, it's a really, really good game.
Yeah.
So
It looks really cute. I like the aesthetic of it.
it is super cute and
Yeah.
super fun to play either on Switch or on PlayStation, because touch screen obviously on Switch, and then the touchpad on PlayStation makes
it works with that?
painting the environments very nice. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It does. All right, let's do this one. I don't know that we're going to have very much for this one, but Hacker Alias Hoity says, with the 20th anniversary, can you share any memories of the Half-Life 2 launch?
I laughed when I saw that you put this on here, because any of us play Half-Life 2 when it came out?
No.
You know what
No.
my strongest memory of Half-Life 2 is? Being excited that Half-Life 2 was coming to the Xbox 360 and buying the orange box, and then playing it for about 5 minutes because I played Portal instead and couldn't put it down.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
up.
mine. Was basically you guys picking up the orange box and then saying you should pick it up too, Phil, and me saying, why? I don't care about Team Fortress, and then you guys being all like,
Portal.
no, play this Portal game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Not that Half-Life 2 is bad. I did go back and play Half-Life 2,
of course
but,
not.
But Portal was so much better.
I was not a PC player at all.
No, me neither.
Not really into the games. I wasn't into the original Half-Life, so I didn't play Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
But I, of course, recognize how much influence Half-Life in
It was a
general
great
has
Yeah.
had on everything.
I've tried playing Half-Life, and
The first one? You're
It's
talking about
just-
the first one or the sequel?
2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played a bit of Half-Life 2, and just because it's just not really my type of game, so I kind of bounced off of it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, recognizing that it's influential and popular for a reason and noted for
Sure.
many reasons, just not my type of game.
Yeah.
But
Indeed.
but boy, I really love Portal.
Portal.
Portal's
Yeah.
so good.
So good. So
It's a shame
good.
there's never going to be a third one.
Probably not. Never say never.
I just
No.
did.
Okay.
You just said it twice.
All right, let's wrap it up with this one from Hacker Alias Namava, who says, part of the Switch's success is thanks to the whole of Nintendo making games for it. As opposed to splitting work between home consoles and handhelds, with that in mind, had 3DS not existed, allowing Nintendo to focus entirely on Wii U, how would that console have fared? Would it still struggle?
Yeah, I think so. Look at it this way. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of the high, I mean, it's really well regarded. It's sold like crazy. It's still selling on the Switch. I mean, that existed on the Wii U. And it didn't help. You know what I mean? Like, the Wii U was just too weird. I think
the Wii U was too weird. People didn't. It turns out people didn't want a dual screen experience when it came to the television and a touchpad.
And it was unwieldy too, right? Like that to me was the big thing. Is just like I loved the idea behind it. I liked the console. There were some games on there that I really loved, including Mario Kart 8. But it's like it just was such an oddball. It was an unwieldy system. You had to have the charger. You had to have that big screen controller sitting on there somewhere being charged constantly. And you know, and you couldn't go very far away from the console to use it as a second screen experience. So they didn't really go crazy with that stuff. And it didn't look much better than the Wii. On top of everything else, like you were sort of making these concessions, but from a visual standpoint, they didn't look much better than Wii games.
Well, I don't know that I would say that.
Well, either way.
I don't know that I agree with that.
It didn't feel like a big enough leap for what you were giving up.
Here was the big issue was people just didn't want it.
Yeah.
They wanted something else, and they didn't want what the Wii U was offering. And you can look at, a lot of the games that came out for Wii U have been ported to Switch, and they're huge successes.
Exactly.
So it wasn't the games that were
it was
holding the Wii U back. It was the hardware and the touch screen, and people just didn't understand or didn't want that thing. They didn't want to have to deal with that.
I think too that it has to be said that like with the Wii, for as popular as it was, by the end of the Wii's life, motion controls felt gimmicky.
Yes.
I mean, for some people, they felt gimmicky right from the start, but
correct.
A lot of people loved them, and they were gimmicky, and they were gimmicky to the point that Microsoft and Sony were desperately trying to get them into their games somehow as well. So it all felt really gimmicky. And then this comes out, and it's like, this just feels like more gimmickry. Yes.
And Nintendo Land didn't help that. Being a huge gimmick, even though I love so many of the games on Nintendo Land, wish they would pop up again on the Switch. But
I mean, the Wii U, I mean, it's criminal how poorly it did, because there were some really good games on that system.
Some really great games.
Yeah.
I mean, Splatoon was on the Wii U, and it was absolutely fantastic. And that franchise now is huge for Nintendo, and it all got its start on the Wii U, a console that struggled / failed. It was not the game's fault. It was entirely the hardware and getting people to buy into it. And I don't think any price drops on that hardware, and Nintendo never did a price drop on Wii U. I don't think it would have helped at all. People just did not want the concept. They did not want what Nintendo was dishing out at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I live in a house where I have most of my retro consoles still hooked up to some display somewhere in this house. And the Wii U is sitting in a closet. Yeah,
exactly. But thank God for the 3DS. I mean, Nintendo was able to weather the storm in large part because of the 3DS, right? So, let's feel good about that. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @PUA on various social networks, including X, Threads, Blue Sky. Well, just those three. And we also have an internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information. You'll find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward. You will find Generation 16 episodes there as well. You'll find show notes and links to the things that we talked about during this episode. as well as a link to our Discord server where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting playeronepodcast.com. Can you actually subscribe by going to playeronepodcast.com?
Yes.
I say that every week. I don't know if it's true.
I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah.
Okay.
I love if you go to Player One Podcast, you'll get recommendations for podcasts that don't exist anymore.
That's also true.
When was the last time any of us ever actually went to playeronepodcast.com?
I just went this week.
Oh, really?
And that's why I noticed how we're still pimping the Lunchcast.
Oh,
I should remove some things, huh?
What was your old podcast, Phil? The toy one?
Oh, the points of articulation.
Points of articulation is on there. You're right. Yeah. Okay. I'll delete that stuff.
It's been quite a few years since we've done points of articulation.
Fine.
That category on the page should be called In Memoriam,
which I will say is still an outstanding name for a toy podcast.
True.
Points of articulation. That was all Justin.
True.
Or more realistically, by loading up your favorite podcast listening app. We're also on Spotify. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show on the youtubes.com/P1 podcast, or you can watch us live most weeks on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Twitch.televisions. Just check one of our many social media accounts to find out when we are doing our next live show. Typically, it is Sunday evenings at 5:30 specific time. So join us, won't you? And I'll tell you what, if you like what you've heard, and how could you, head over to patreon.com/P1 podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. We will take good care of your money. We'll treat it well. We'll treat it nice. We'll take it out to a fancy dinner. Pay for that fancy dinner with that actual money we are taking out.
Huh.
That's called the circle of life, friends.
Where it belongs.
Yeah. No, we of course use that money to keep the podcast afloat, keep it streaming and all that. All those costs, all that stuff goes straight back into the podcast. That's for darn sure. And I'll tell you what, friendos, if you are a Patreon subscriber over the $5 tier,
cheap,
you gain special access to a weekly bonus episode we recorded right after this, where we play games, crack wise, having fun doing all the stuff we can't do on the regular show. And you know what? I'm going to mention this just because people were talking about it on our Discord recently. On our regular podcast feed. It's Thursdays, right? When the old ones go up?
Yeah, like Thursday night. So Friday morning, it'll be in your podcast inbox.
Yeah, if you want a taste of what those after shows are like, remember to check your feed every Friday morning. You will get an old, we call them classic, after show.
Yeah,
from what, 2 years prior?
2 years ago.
People were chatting in our Discord about one of our old after shows.
Yeah,
specifically there was a quiz, and we've talked about this on the show. I'm not spoilering this.
Yeah.
Where it was a listener submitted quiz, and it turned out all the answers were related to, or the entire quiz was all ended up being about werewolf for the NES.
That's right.
And that was a fun quiz.
That was a really fun quiz, and that has not appeared yet on the public feed, but it will be very soon,
right?
It's fairly soon. I think it's January. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny too. Just because time has no meaning anymore.
True.
Because someone was trying to find it because they wanted to listen to that one again. And then someone was like, I'm pretty sure that was just a couple months ago. But no, it's knocking on 2 years at this point.
Knocking on 2 years.
So get ready to listen to that one, everyone. That was a fun one. But we do new ones of those every every week. Again,
Yeah.
we record it right after this.
It's true.
So please look forward to that. And again, if you like the little samples of what you get, you will indeed get fresh ones every week as a Patreon supporter.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you have a couple bucks left over, why don't you head over to patreon.com/Greg Seward to help support Greg's Outstanding, and it is outstanding web series about North America's favorite runner-up, the Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Phil. And if you're a subscriber, a supporter of the $3 variety,
that's also cheap.
Yes, it is.
And I'm a subscriber.
You are.
I don't support what you do, but
No.
I will subscribe to it.
I appreciate that.
Anything.
I think.
No, you should.
Okay, I do.
You're getting my money. My devilish hell money.
It's definitely Canadian dollars. You get early access to every video that I produce. It's 1 week early access. And, go over to my Patreon page as well and check out the blog entries where I'm talking about what I'm working on every week. Anything else that pops into my head, including what I really think of CJ and Phil and Satan. Please consider supporting the show.
He only really likes one of us. Can you guess who it is?
I'm sure it's me, right, Satan?
I don't know.
Oh, I bet you do.
Oh, I don't know if I do.
I bet you do.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
I don't know if you do.
I know.
Make it stop.
Can't do it. See how quick I am on that button there, though?
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. That's all I got.
Well, Greg, what more do you need? That was perfect.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Is that it?
That's it.
CJ,
Yaha.
thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Absolutely. Agree.
Yo.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Philip.
Absolutely. And of course, a big old thank you to you, our wonderful, wonderful listeners, every single darn one of you. As always, take care of yourself, your loved ones, your family, your friends. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. And we hope to see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.